sure it will get started in just a moment. Thank you all so much. I'm Marla B.
So are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready for part three? Part three up in here, up in here. So, hold on. I got to turn this off. Hold on. Sorry. Oh, no. Oh, we don't use that word. My bad. Shame on you, iPad, for acting out. We don't use the word shame. Sorry, in this space. We've learned alternatives thereunto. But today, guys, you all are in for a bit of a treat. And I think it's just a perfect segue, because if you've been sitting all day, you probably need to get up and move a little bit anyway. And so we got a little something special for all of you all that are in the place today. You get the preview here first. It has not been fully released. It's still in draft. So this is a Back from Broken Summit special just for you. And it is created by none other than the amazing Marla B and your man, Dr. Ed. Marla B created it. I just came along and played along with the thing, and it's just straight. Well, we'll let y'all be the judge of what it is. But here we go. So, Sean, I just need to share my screen and I can share my sound. How I do that?
Yes, sir. All you got to do is go hit share screen and then go to share from your hard drive, not the share video.
Yeah.
And then go to wherever it is, the screen that you have that on, and then share sound on the corner, and you should be good to go.
There it is. Now they gonna still see me?
Yep.
All right. Because I don't want them to. All right. There we go. And here we go, peoples.
You know the journey, that one in your past, the one that has you toe up from the floor without a pot to pee in or willing to throw out.
To see me.
Well, you know what? Here we go. We about to drop that roadmap to recovery, redemption.
So get up and shake around
in your lap. Hey, it's your man, Dr. Ed, the urban leadership strategist. Let's get it,
we have been broken, that much is true. But now that we have something left to do, recover, redeem, repair, restore. Our cups are full and we about to pour. So show up as you are and we'll take you far. Just dust you off, cause you already a star. We don't need fortune, we don't need fame. We want originality, we don't want fame. So quit the blame, you got a mind to tame. And if you don't do that, well that's a shame. PTSD, I know what that means to be prepared to show up. Yeah, daily, show up for who? Show up for you, cause you deserve a breakthrough, break free. Gotta get to therapy, crack you open. You can finally see all the demons that you need to slay, all the games you don't need to play.
Yo, them demons that's been coming at your body, that's been coming at your mind, that's been coming at your heart, they can't win. We about to take this thing to a whole new level, because we know we got the best insight. When you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at will change.
We have been broken, and much is true. But now
so get up and move around just a little bit.
We have been broken, and much is true. But now we're back, and we came back to get you. Recover, restore, we're here to redeem. You know who we are, the Back from Broken team. We know you got a dream, but the thing that you've seen keep playing in your head like on a movie screen. We know you got trauma, yeah, maybe from your mama, yeah, maybe from your pop, but you still can't stop. You belong at the top of that list. That's our wish, and we make it our business. Restore, redeem. It's time to recover. We've been through hell, but we finally discovered illness, abuse, loss, addiction were our teachers, and they taught with conviction. Protect your mental health, it's your greatest wealth. Don't leave it on a shelf. Self-care ain't selfish. You gotta serve yourself first, so you can serve the rest and bring your very best. Ask us, we pass the test.
You know the road ain't gonna be easy. The road may even be downright frustrating at times. But because we are choosing to come back from broken, We get ready to put the work in. We're going to be committed to introductions to the higher versions of ourselves, because what we know is this, that hard work pays off and the rewards are great.
We have been broken, that much is true. But now that we got something left to do, we have been broken, that much is true. But now we're back, and we came back to get you. We came back to get you. Could not forget you. Might have to stretch you. Cannot just let you live in regret, cause your fate is not set. You cannot neglect the fact that you can get back up on your feet. Know that we believe you have what it takes, cause you were made for greatness. You cannot just fake this. The gift that God gave us. Thought we were broken, but turns out you can't break this. We have been broken, that much is true. But now that we got something left to do, we have been broken, that much is true. But now we're back, and we came back to get you.
Now you know I'd be remiss if I didn't leave you with this. Good, better, best. You can't let it rest until our good is our better and our better is our best. And as you begin to embrace this roadmap to re-entry, recovery, and redemption, or stop. We might just see you at the top because the bottom's in time to cry. Yo, big gang, why don't you go ahead and join the Back from Broken Nation in our Facebook group, Back from Broken Nation. It's your man, Dr. Ed, the urban leadership strategist, ready to introduce you to the higher version of yourself.
Hello. Hello. How you doing? How you doing? So, ladies and gentlemen, that will be the title cut. Seriously, and we ain't even got to worry about no copyrights, because get what? We own the music. We made the music. Marla B. Virtual high five, Bo. Virtual high five. And we got a couple of other people in the nation that are coming on board to help us out with the remainder of the soundtrack that should be released by the end of the month. So there will be an official Back from Broken soundtrack. And in case you paid attention to the lyrics, it was comprised of the topics, some of the discussions that we've had in the Coming Back from Setback room. And so, again, I just want to salute the brilliance of Sister Queen Marla B. Cardi B ain't got nothing on my girl Marla B. She is the bomb.com, as most of you all have witnessed. And so it's only fitting that she's our next hot speaker here on the Back from Broken Summit, day one. What? And it's just going to keep on getting gooder and gooder. Take it away, Sean. Marla B is up next.
Hi, I am so happy to be here today. I'm happy to be here with you because you are a creative genius. You are. Every challenge that you have encountered, you have figured out how to get through it. Every day, no matter what has happened the night before, the day before, or the year before, you continue to get up and get at it. But what I want to know is how many of you want to get up and get at it with a little bit more interest, a little bit more enthusiasm, maybe even a little bit more, hell yes, I am a creative genius, let's do this. Well, then I want to welcome you into my world for a short time so that together we can figure out how to do that. And I also want to know, have you ever asked the question, how am I going to get through this? Well, not that long ago, I was asking that question and I really needed an answer. And the answer that I discovered was the imagination. Yes, So I want to look together and I want to see how the imagination can actually be one of the greatest tools in recovery, how it can help us to restore our faith in ourselves, and it can help us get to the point where we are saying, hell yes, I am a creative genius, let's do this. For 15 years, I've been an artist. So imagination and creativity, that's my jam. Yeah, it's my bread, it's my butter, and it's my jam. And I thought that I knew the power of the imagination. But what I did not know was how to use the imagination to save my own life. It was a cold night at the beginning of January 2020. And I was in my hometown just north of the Canadian border. It was shortly after midnight, and I was running down the deserted street crying. My winter jacket was open and blowing in the wind, but I couldn't even feel how cold it was because I was in a state of shock. Then all of a sudden, I saw another person, and they were running too. And then I realized that it was my sister. So I called out to her and she yelled back, "We have to get inside." So I picked up my pace, I ran to meet her, and we took off together towards the hospital. In through the doors, up to the 4th floor, we were running down the hallway. And it was then that my father's sisters, my aunts, they burst out from the hospital room. And for a second, they looked like linebackers, like football players who were trying to block us from what we were about to see. And then they just opened their arms and they squeezed us in a tight bear hug. It was part embrace, part trying to restrain us. And then they let us go, and somehow we calmly walked into that hospital room. And there were our other 2 sisters, our father, and they were gathered around our mother. Her mouth was gaping open. Her skin was somehow glowing. Her body was lifeless, breathless. Have you ever lost someone who you love? Well, then you know that when they die, the life drains out of you. The thing is, I had been at my mother's bedside only 3 hours before this. I had sat there while she was unconscious. The heart monitor, beep, beep, beep. The sound of her breath. And I spun the rainbow twirler. This small toy that she and I loved. This small toy that when you spun it just right, it would catch the light and it would cast all the colors of the rainbow. I sat there for 2 hours spinning the rainbow twirler while I called every angel, every saint, every ancestor that my imagination could conjure. And they all came to take her home. My mother formed my imagination. She filled my childhood, my whole life, in fact, with books, with stories of miniature people who borrowed things from life-size people, of music, songs of cats who had all-night cat parties. And she filled it with toys, little Russian dolls that would open up to reveal a smaller doll, then open up to reveal a smaller doll, then open up to reveal a smaller doll. And all of this, it gave me a sense of magic that I never forgot. My mother taught me the power of the imagination because she was a creative genius. Now, we all know what the imagination is. It's the place where music is born, where innovation takes shape, where masterpieces originate. And for me as an artist, it is my life calling. And I think that harnessing the power of the imagination, I think it's absolutely vital, even if you aren't an artist. And it is particularly vital during the vulnerable time of recovery. One of the first ways to harness the power of the imagination is to become aware of how it is working. What is going on in your head? What are you imagining? And is it helping you or is it harming you? Or maybe is nothing at all going on? Now, if we aren't aware of how the imagination, if we aren't aware of how we are using the imagination, then I dare say that the imagination could be using us. Yeah. If we aren't aware of how we are using the imagination could even be abusing us. One of the first ways that I gained a greater insight into how to use my imagination as a tool for recovery was by learning a healing modality called the PATH method, Participatory Awareness for Transformational Healing. Yes. Now this method, it was designed by my creative genius friend, Dr. Raoul Goldberg. And this method, it taught me the simple act of giving my inner voice an outer voice, of giving my inner feelings or whatever was going on in there by giving it an outward physical expression or a gesture. And then it taught me the simple act of stepping away so that I could observe. And it was like all of a sudden I could become a director in a play. And I could see this story and these characters that were going on inside of me. And I could see how they were really hurting me some of the time. So then as the director, the observer, I could bring in a more helpful character, a new resource, or I could change the story and then I could step back in and I could embody it to experience a transformational healing. Yes. Now there's a lot to experience with the PATH method, and later on I will share with you how you can do that. But at the beginning I said that I learned how to use my imagination to save my own life. And I really want to get to that part because that is where the magic really started to happen. When life tried to take me down, but I was able to completely level up. It was 4 months after my mother had died, and I was back in Los Angeles where I was living at the time. And COVID-19 had started, but life continued on in its own special COVID way. And it was May. It was a beautiful day. I was out riding my bike and then I got back to my apartment and I decided I would take a bath because I wasn't feeling very well. The thing is, I hadn't been feeling well for a very long time. I had this mysterious pain that the medical doctors, the acupuncturist, the massage therapist, the chiropractor, the herbalist, none of them could figure out what was going on. So I just did my best and kept going. So on that day, the water was filling the tub, and just as I went to step into the bath, all of a sudden this sharp pain cut through my belly. And when I say a sharp pain, I mean like a knife cutting on the inside and then twisting and cutting out. I just grabbed the bathroom counter, I braced myself and I thought, okay, maybe this will pass. And then the next thing I knew, I fell to my knees, and in my mind's eye, in my imagination, I could actually see this giant hand of darkness, and it came down and it grabbed me, it gripped me, it went for my middle and it tried to just rip me. I felt like I was being completely taken over, and I was alone at home. And then all of a sudden I heard this voice and it screamed, "I will not abandon myself." It wasn't just a voice though, it was me. This one sentence, "I will not abandon myself." This sentence became an anchor for me as I spent the next 10 days in the hospital. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but a cancerous tumor had ruptured in my pelvis, and it spewed high-grade cancer cells all over my organs. And my body was fighting back, by producing a protective fluid, and that caused my stomach to swell, so all of a sudden I looked like I was 5 months pregnant, and that compressed my lungs so I could hardly breathe. I will not abandon myself, because this is warrior training. Now, I knew from my experience as a theater artist, I knew the power of a strong character. And I knew from my experience with the PATH method that imagining and embodying a strong character or a helpful resource at a time like this, I knew that it could make all the difference in the world. And that was when I conjured my inner warrior. And it was a battle on every level: mental, emotional, and most of all, physical. But I made my position known. I was the warrior. Have you ever been in a situation when there is no answer in sight, so you become the solution? When you have to be the greatest resource in your own life? When your back is pushed so far up against the wall, something remarkable can happen. You come through. Why? Because you are a creative genius. Hell yes, you are. I sat there in that hospital in pain, on morphine, starving because my intestines were obliterated by what had happened. I was devastated and I was completely bewildered. I just sat there and I stared out the window. I looked down and I watched the people on the street carrying their groceries, unlocking their cars and driving away. And I worked my imagination. I might have been sitting there like that, but I saw a battlefield and I saw myself as a warrior, calm, strong, brave, skilled, determined. And other times I saw and I felt like I was drowning. And then I saw a life raft. It was my imagination. So I climbed in. And if you looked with ordinary eyes, you would have seen that I was sitting alone in that hospital room. But if you looked with the eyes of the imagination, you would have seen that that room was full. There was warrior me. There was future me who was recovered and calling me forward. There were angels. There were my ancestors. And there was my mother. She was there and she was looking good. She was free from mental suffering, free from physical pain, and she was encouraging me, saying, you have the power to get through this, and that power is the right use of your imagination. She was right. When a painter paints, or a dancer dances, or a musician plays, they work and they rework their art. They do it again and again and again. They make variations and iterations. They do it fast. They try it slow. And then they throw it out and walk away because they think it's stupid. And then they go back to the garbage. They pick it out of the garbage. They look at it again. They rework it until all of a sudden they have this magic moment. This aha moment of when it just looks good. It sounds good. It feels good. And then that piece of art, it has the power to transform one person or a whole audience or even the entire world, because the artist knows how to wield the power of the imagination because they work it. And that is exactly what we can do with our own life challenges. We can look at them differently. We can listen to them differently. We can try to feel them differently in our imagination until they look good, they sound good, they feel good, until we are saying, hell yes, I am a creative genius. Let's do this. That is what we can do with our imagination. We make it real there, and then we embody it to make it real in our lives, to get through. And that is exactly what I did in that hospital room, and it saved my life. 2 months after that, I was back in Canada, and it was my 35th birthday. And I woke up in the hospital because I just had a surgery, and I was diagnosed with carcinosarcoma, a highly aggressive form of ovarian cancer, and it was already at stage 3. How am I going to get through this? That was all I had. Sometimes your imagination, it's not working. Maybe you've been there before. So I kept asking, how am I going to get through this? And then one day my imagination spoke and it said, throw a party. And I was like, what? That does not seem appropriate right now. But I couldn't stop imagining the games, the music, the fun that I could have, all the people that I could get together. So that's what I did. I threw a party. And it was amazing. I mean, it was online, but it was still amazing. If you were there, you know, it was a lot of fun. And then I realized that I could have cancer and I could have fun if I used my imagination. So when I had to do the 6 rounds of chemotherapy, I was still asking, how am I going to do this? But now my imagination was responding even more quickly, and it chimed in right away. You're going to cancer school. So get your binder, get your funky pens, and pack your lunch because you're late for school. So I went to every appointment and every treatment, and there were a lot, but I went as if I was enrolled in a program to get my degree in warrior training. And guess what? I graduated with honors. Yes, I did. But also during this time, I had to have a total hysterectomy, and I had to surrender my fertility. I couldn't even save my eggs because the disease was so aggressive, it just had to happen. And then I went into menopause at age 35. And all of that contributed to the end of my relationship with a man I really, truly loved, with whom I was preparing to have a family. So that was a lot harder to process. I will not abandon myself. My mantra resurfaced. And then I saw her. And she was beautiful. I mean, I was sitting there bald with no eyebrows. I weighed 100 pounds and I was heartbroken. But I saw her, my future self. And she looked good. She was on purpose and she was in her power. And she was calling me forward. Marla, come this way. You have a great destiny. Greater than the children you thought you would bear. Greater than the family that you thought you would have. A destiny so great that you can't even imagine it. But you have to come this way. So that's what I did. I followed her through my imagination. My imagination has been there for me at every turn. It has healed me and it has helped me. It has completely restored me through the greatest challenge of my life. And that's because I learned how to use it. And I didn't deny the reality. I knew that I couldn't just imagine away cancer, but that I could imagine a way through cancer. And you can't just imagine away your life's challenges, but you can imagine a way through your life's challenges. I want you to be able to see whatever is happening in your life through the eyes of the imagination. so that you can look at it until it looks differently, sounds differently, feels differently, until it looks good, it sounds good, it feels good, until you are saying unequivocally, hell yes, I am a creative genius. Let's do this. So say it with me now. Here we go. Hell yes, I am a creative genius. Let's do this. No matter your age or what situation you are in, you do not have to resign yourself to the most commonly accepted reality. You can use your power, the power of your imagination, and you can use it where you need it most of all, in your daily life. You can use it to restore yourself, to comfort yourself, to inspire yourself, and to heal yourself. Use it privately because it is sacred. And then use it publicly because it is powerful. However you use it, just use it. Use your imagination and use it for the highest possible good. And if you need help with that, or inspiration, or guidance, then you can go to youareacreativegenius.com, and there you can register for a free online live session with me and my friend Dr. Raoul Goldberg, and we will introduce you to the PATH method, participatory awareness for transformational healing. Yes, and we can get you started so that you can use your imagination as a tool to heal your own life. My name is Marla Brennan, and I have had so much fun being a part of this summit. So thank you to the other speakers, thank you to the organizers, and thank you to the audience. And I want to leave you with this. The next time something goes wrong in your life, my wish for you is that there is a little bell ringing in your brain, and it is reminding you to use the power of your imagination so that when a challenge tries to take you down, you can completely level up. Because after all, you are a creative genius. Hell yes, you are. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.
Oh my God, Sister Queen Avis. Let me first of all say apologies. I got overly excited, but yes, I got overly excited and went out of order. But hold on, I'm gonna stay in this vibe though. That's what I'm gonna do. So is my share still going, Sean? If I just hit the play button, my share will still be active. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? It's unmuted. You can hear it? Say something.
I can hear it.
Okay, cool.
It's DJ AM here, and I want to tell you a story about when I was in the right place at the right time. Not long ago, life really changed. Cancer came along, I was never the same. Chemotherapy, I just got through. A friend sends a message, yo, what you up to? Not much, man, just coming back to life. Then he sent me a gift, a clubhouse invite. I went to the fridge, got myself a snack. Then I entered the room, coming back from setback. Coming back from setback with Dr. Ed and Elmac. You don't have a heart attack, we're here to take our power back. Show up as you, boo, the courage of coming through. Out of you and turns you into slayer of giants. You'll be racking up clients, taking down tyrants. Why not try? Do it today, do it afraid. Listen to the speakers and the things that they say. Make moves, not excuses. If you suffered abuses, we can listen to you, cause we've been in your shoes. Tell your story, it don't get old. Put your pain in the fire and it turn to gold. Tell us from the heart what you've been through. We're the back from broken team and we're here for you. Coming back, Dr. Ed Elmac. Coming back from setback with Dr. Ed and Elmac. You don't have a heart attack, we're here to take our power back.
They going crazy in the back of Broken Studio, by the way.
I hope they're going crazy.
That's fun.
I hope on Clubhouse they're rocking out right now. Facebook,
Rocking
YouTube.
out.
Hit us up with some flame emojis if you're out there. Tap your microphone if you like that.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Get the flames going.
So much that they gave me a beat. Now every single track I'll be bringing the heat. As for the cancer, well, that's in the past. I came back strong, and that's gonna last. I'm a force to be reckoned with up on the stage. I'm a wild animal just busting my cage. Hear from you.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Ed, I have so much fun with you, and you're back from Broken Nation. Our back from Broken Nation.
There you go. Our
nation.
You know, Marlo, that night when I heard you in the room and you said, when you were getting prepared for your chemo, that you like went and got a nice outfit and you just totally transmuted the experience to be something very different than what most people might perceive. And I knew then there was something special that I had to stay connected to you because you inspire so many. And the future you is just unflipping fathomable. So just walk in and embrace it. And say, hell yes, with your creative genius ass. And I think that we need to tribute one of the songs that we're creating to the beloved mom. God rest her soul. And I mean that with every fiber of my being.
Thank you, actually, because my family's probably watching too, so they appreciate that as well. And yeah, right now it seems like I'm in a zone where I can kind of write a rap about anything. I don't know what's going on. It's going. And my future self, I'm pretty sure she's in Atlanta at Brother Ghazi's rant, just pulling me forward. So that's where I see my future self. And he was like, I have 25 acres. I was like, I'm there. Okay.
It is. And it is beautiful. I mean, when I said I don't even want to look at another venue, I've already seen it. And the options are so plentiful. But that's a later thing.
Yes.
You are the focus for right now. And I just love the energy, the contribution, the leadership that you bring. There's so much that you bring to the Back from Broken Nation, and we just want to salute you publicly. But one of the things I want you to help us all understand, for those that are viewing, when you began, or how did you get to that place of being able to transfer perception in such a way through your imagination that it was so powerful and effective? Because, I mean, you can't just wake up with that kind of response to something so devastating. And so you could share, how did you get to that place?
Well, I think I was set up well, first of all, like, as you know, my childhood and even my adolescence and into my early 20s, like I was set up really well to see the best in everything, because that was the frame, my frame of reference for life. But really what happened, how I was able to make it through this is that 4 years ago or 5 years ago now, I actually almost died in another medical event. I got really sick and I went into septic shock. And that was really my first initiation into, you know, how are you going to get through this? And then I moved back home for that period of time. And it took me about 8 weeks to clear the fluid in my lungs because I was like almost drowning in my fluids. It was pretty bad. And that experience kind of cracked a part of me open, where I began to see things differently because of what happened after that experience, that I saw the purpose in it. So I started to train myself as soon as anything bad went wrong, like literally I would have that little bell in my brain ringing saying like, something great is about to happen, but you have to have the eyes to see it because nobody else is going to see it.
Right.
So I just kind of like went through a process of initiation, training, and then honestly, practice, just like artists do or athletes do. It was like a mental practice that I did regularly, so that even when small things go wrong, like if like I had my bike stolen once, or my bike seat, and I was like, something's good gonna happen, something good. I walked down the street and then one of my friends was like, hey, what's going on? He was like, oh, come in, get a full tune-up. Gave me a full tune-up, got my bike fixed. I was like, anything wrong, I'm immediately just looking for the good in it. And it always shows up 100%. So
that's powerful, because I believe it says, the late Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way that you look at things, the things that you look at will change. And clearly you have a very similar approach and mentality that is just working so powerfully for you. I thank you. I appreciate you. I applaud you. And again, being a part of the Back from Broken Nation team. Oh, speaking of teams, I can't remember your 11-year-old sidekick's nephew's name. What is
Yes, that's his name is James, but we call him DJ JE.
DJ JE. They
Yes.
are. I'm gonna promote your IG again because they are so flipping hot. The sneeze was just a bomb last week.
Yeah, that was good, right?
And with the cartoon animation thing you
Yeah.
popped up, y'all, and even like and one other example that just really is indelible for me, and then we're gonna have to move on. But I think this was powerful as well. Marla used to have hair like midway down her back. And I mean, those long flowing locks, and the time at the transition when she was going through her hair, she was going to donate it, but it went. Tell us about that. That was such.
Well, what happened was, I had really long hair and it started to fall out because I started the chemotherapy. So I delayed shaving it. I should have shaved it sooner. So I was going to donate it, but then it started falling off and turned into this big gnarly knot. So I had to just cut it off and shave it. But like I said, I wanted to have fun, and so did my nephew. So we made a YouTube video because we have a YouTube channel. And then the video got like over 1,000 views, even though we didn't even have that many subscribers. So it's a super fun video. And it also taught my nephew and my other nieces and nephew, like, even if you're going through a hard time, you can actually enjoy yourself if you have the right perspective. So that's a little bit about that.
And that was the message I was trying to get to. You got to learn how to enjoy the journey. And she clearly showed us, women and their hair, you don't play with that. And to have so much fun with another, what would typically be traumatic for most people, you turned it into something amazing. Marla B, thank you. And once again, tell everybody, how can they get that free live path message?
Go to youarecreativegenius.com. That's pretty easy to remember, right? So you just put that in there and then you can click to register, and amazing things will happen there. Also check me out on IG, like he mentioned.
That's one hell of an affirmation as well.
Isn't it?
Genius. I think I am a creative.
You are.
Genius.
Yeah, you are. Well, yes, you are. I need you to do that. Yeah.
Hell yes. I'll receive it. Marla, thank you so much. And let me redeem myself here, because we're going to go back to Queen Avis, who is a quiet and level-headed spirit, but we definitely did not mean to bypass you. I just got a little too excited. That's what Marla B music do to me. But in any event, coming to the stage next, you guys, she and herself is awesome. So get ready for the amazing Avis Oglesby. Take it away, Sean.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Back from Broken Summit. Thank you for participating and checking in with us. How is everybody doing? Okay, all right, doing good. All right. Hi. Well, happy to hear. And again, welcome. My name is Avis Oglesby, and I am the CEO and founder of the Oglesby Consulting Group, LLC. I am a mother of 3 beautifully grown adults and a grandmother of 1 granddaughter who is 7 years old, and that's just my heart. And I'm here today to talk to you about the Midas Mindset Advantage, or MMA for short. And I'm going to tell you what it isn't, what it is, and how you can use it to help you navigate and get around some of the obstacles and challenges in your everyday life, and use it for your benefit. So the Midas Mindset Advantage, you think about Midas, King Midas, it has nothing to do with that. MMA, it's not mixed martial arts, but it is a fighting technique for the mind, because every battle we face in life first begins in our mind, how we perceive it, and then proceed to respond or react to that obstacle or challenge. And so the Midas mindset advantage in itself is based on the principles that were studied and found out by Carol Dweck, who is a professor, who was a professor at Stanford University, who conducted a study back in the 80s around mindset and how it can affect and enhance our lives, and use to our advantage to grow and move ahead. With that, the Midas mindset advantage, there are two parts to it. The biggest part, one of the major parts I'm going to discuss today with you, is about the mindset piece, and specifically growth mindset. And then the other part deals with that internal, unconscious, subconscious reality we find ourselves dealing with, where we, in certain situations, find, hey, that's just who I am, when you respond or react to that situation. And those are called fixed beliefs or fixed mindset. So everybody knows what a positive mindset is, seeing the silver lining in every situation, or just, a way of focusing your life on the positive things, to not get pulled down in the muck. But on the flip side, and on a more personal level, because you can choose or not choose, you have that fixed mindset where you don't have a choice, because it's coming from a subconscious, unconscious level that was created when you were born, based on culture, how you were raised, the things you learned, and how you process those things, and even particular situations that happen to you that tend to generate an automatic response that is triggered by outside influences, based, and then you respond a certain way, or however, and again, it goes back to, that's just who I am. But for Carol Dweck's research, she went into more of the growth mindset, where it is believed that you don't stop developing and growing after you graduate from school, whether it's high school, college. You continue to grow and develop and foster a way of thinking that better serves you, from a stance that even in failure, that's a good thing. Like you'd hear people say sometimes, and I've heard people say, failing forward, where failure was a good thing, because it gives you a moment to develop and grow from that experience, failing forward. So the growth mindset aspect of MMA is set on that principle by Carol Dweck and her study in the 80s. So with that said, it's where the Midas mindset, where the positive and the growth mindset meet and converge with the fixed mindset to force a transformation and a healing, to where you recognize and see outside triggers that affect and cause those unconscious behaviors to manifest. But in understanding that and seeing those, you can now effortlessly adjust to challenging situations and respond accordingly, and more importantly, act from a point of knowledge of self and respond based on facts and from a place of power. And that power stemming from understanding who you are as a person, to where you can reframe that situation and see yourself around it, and not react like a victim, or who has no control in the situation, because we all have choices and control in situations. It just depends on what you choose. So, and that just makes me think about a quote by Dr. Wayne Dyer that says, you know, if you change the way you look at a thing, that thing you look at changes. And there was a moment in my life where that quote really hit home for me and I understood what it meant. And it goes into, you know, 8.5 years ago, I was met with a challenge in my life where, you know, I had just spent the last 12 years nurturing my son to a point of being healthier and able to actually be a normal kid, because at the age of 2 he was diagnosed with a brain tumor that was the size of a golf ball sitting in his brain that was preventing him from properly gaining weight, and even from a standpoint making him go blind because of where it was. So he had to go through chemo and radiation, and imagine, you know, 10 or 12 years, and here I am as a mother, like, oh my God, my child, and, you know, praying and hoping that all goes well and he, you know, won't have to suffer much or even just to lose him. You know, a parent shouldn't lose their child. But I had all that. And so I had got him to a point of stability and a level of normalcy to where he could, you know, interact and go to the daycare and things like that. So I was like, okay, this is a good time for me to let me get back on my game of doing my yearly physicals, as which I failed to mention earlier, I used to be in the military. So having those yearly physicals just are a given for me. I spent 10 years in the military. So it was like October of 2012. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go get myself checked out. I got to keep myself, you know, healthy and, you know, so I can continue to take care of not just my son, Isaac, but my other children, my older son and daughter as well. So I got to take care of myself, and that's just a given for any parent. You know, they want to do and be able, and sometimes we put ourselves on the back burner. But I'm like, okay, I got the time. He's doing good. Let me go for it. And I go in for my first mammogram as part of my physical, and the hammers dropped on me. Stage 3 breast cancer. Stage 3 breast cancer. I was in shock. I didn't know what to think or how to respond, but I do remember as part of that, not knowing what to think, I was like, stage 3. Stage 4 is that next critical level that most people, I'm almost, I take care of myself. I'm pretty much physically active. I eat right, or, you know, I try to eat right. How is this possible? The first mammogram, and then it's like I do my. How would you respond to something like that? You already got all this on your shoulder, and then I was like, "This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing now." That's how I talk to my God. I don't know how you talk to your God or our God or that supreme being, that creator, but that's how I talk. I'm on that level. Short of calling him dude, which we don't want to do, because where I'm from, when you call somebody dude, it's like cursing them. No, I love you, Lord. I know you love me, but is that this is what we're doing now? Okay. And then, you know, I had reframed my mind to where, okay, well, it's going to involve chemo and radiation. How long? And then going back and looking back at nursing my son to health and speaking life into him to get him to a point of better health and some level of normalcy. Okay, I'm going to speak life into myself, because it was a wake-up call that I wasn't really living. I was surviving. I was on that treadmill doing what I had to do to try to stay ahead, treading water basically, but it's a kick in the butt. Get it together, girl. You aren't living. It's time to really live. So speaking life into myself so I can live, making that choice to live and live a better life, to level up to a point where I can take a vacation and take my kids on a vacation and just live better and do better for myself. And in making that choice and reframing that view that, okay, the experience with my son has equipped me now to handle this experience for myself, I can act and respond from a place of knowledge and power. I am not a victim. This is not going to get the best of me. So in doing that, here I am 8.5 years later. And in those 8.5 years, I saw that 2-year-old grow up to graduate with honors, a 4.2 from high school. I got a 4.0, but that was just once. And that was just so the teacher could stop talking to me because I wanted to go do other things. But this young man and speaking life and making that decision to live and live better, not just for me, but for my whole family. And with that said, I was able to see my granddaughter be born, and she's 7 years now. That's my mini me. That is my heart. She got her grandma on wrap, but it's a good thing. So to be able to see those things and even in the process, take better vacations and just reconnect on every level and have my whole family be involved and see that we have to do better and live better. But it starts here in the mind on how you process it and what you think about it. And if you let fear or anxiety take over, because again, our biggest fight in life starts in our mind, especially when we're faced with adverse situations and challenges that inevitably are forcing us to grow. And sometimes we aren't ready and we run away, and that fear and anxiety kicks in, and we all know what fear is about. In most cases, it's false evidence appearing real. You should have heard that. Just think about it. Okay, but there are 2 levels of fear. You have actual fear and self-imposed fear. Now, actual fear is a type of fear you can respond to, solve, and or avoid. Say, you have a fear of fire. Well, don't go set stuff on fire. That's in simple terms, not trying to, downplay it. But then you have that self-imposed fear where you create this situation around this. You create a stage play around a situation that ain't even happened yet, but in your mind, oh my God, no, and you have this anxiety and fear, and some of it stems from, again, that fixed mindset and those unconscious thoughts that bubble up because they were triggered culturally, or just something somebody said that put you and made you feel some kind of way, and it stuck with you and you held on to it for what? Well, and they put you down, but you have to think about it. You are no longer that person, and whatever the person said to you to make you feel less than, it was coming from their state of mind and framework of feeling less than and not wanting to see you survive, and in some cases understanding how much blessing is coming your way and they want to hold you back. But again, you realize and reframe it to let it go. Like, I'm no longer that person. That doesn't serve me. I'm no longer that person. And that definitely wasn't true. I've grown and I've come better, and I know I'm doing better. So you just frame it that way, and you move on. You let that muck go, because as Les Brown puts it, there's too many of us who aren't living our dreams because we're too busy living our fears. Let it go. Brush it off. It no longer serves us. It does us no good, and there's no power in it. We are not victims and never will be. We have the capability and the resilience as human beings to overcome some of the craziest things. I even from a standpoint in dealing with a friend, you know, we were comrades and we'd give each other advice and all this good stuff. And then it just so happened that for whatever reason or whatever that day, she leans in and she goes, you know, I'm better than you, right? I'm gonna let that one marinate. But how would you respond to something like that? I responded like, yep. And even that creates a reaction in you. And it's not that I believed that she was better than me. Nobody is better than anybody. But for her to get some comfort and and deal with her issues, okay, yeah, you better than me. You go handle that. You be over there in your corner being better than me. But it comes from a framework and understanding that that was something she was going through and battling with mentally for whatever reason. And it had nothing to do with me. And in saying that, it made me think about a book called The Four Agreements by Ron Ruiz. And one of the four agreements says, don't take anything personal. If someone does something to you, basically, don't take it personally because they're responding from a frame of mind of where they're at in their state. Maybe they woke up on the wrong side of the bed. They didn't have their coffee. Because I know for me, if I don't eat lunch at 11 o'clock, I'm something else. It's about as bad as the Snickers commercial. So things like that you take in consideration. But it's having that understanding of who you are and what those outside triggers could be to create you to respond or react from a place that that gives away your power. And we're not doing that anymore. We're letting that thing go. So in dealing with that fear, you go with what Socrates says, as in, don't focus all of your energy on fighting the old, but focus your energy on building the new. Like when COVID hit, people had to shift and pivot, as they say. But the focus went on, okay, and now I'm in this new situation. How do I handle this? I got to find a new job, focus on getting a new job. Or now I can finally focus on building that business and creating that legacy for my family I wanted to create. Now I have time to spend more with family and grow us closer and things like that. So that's how that goes. Because with everything, it is either an opportunity to grow or an obstacle to keep you from growing. But you have the choice. So with that said, never be less than your dreams. You have the choice. And I have 2 gifts available to give to you. If you text victory to 540-443-3705, I will get you the link to 2 gifts. One is a downloadable PDF, and the other is a quick 2-minute quiz to help you find out whether or not you have a growth mindset. And I'm looking forward to seeing and talk with you soon. www.oglesbyconsultinggroupllc.com. Stay blessed.
All right there, Queen Avis. That was just a phenomenal, phenomenal piece. And I just want to thank you. 2 words come to mind as I was listening to you, and they are mature and demure. And I'm so smitten by your message and the contrast, between you and all the others. Everybody's got their own individual style. Everybody's bringing a powerful and authentic message. That was just beautiful. I loved what you said when you said, this is not going to get the best of me. And then I thought about what Marla said. She said, I will not abandon myself. Same thing, same thing. And that you both had a cancer experience. That was very powerful. You talked about reframing And she spoke about using imagination. It's really the same thing, actually. It's how you see a thing. And you talked about that, how you see a thing. When we see a thing differently, then the thing itself changes. So that was absolutely beautiful. I loved when you talked about projection, and when other people are projecting on you, that's their stuff. Don't take it personal. It has nothing to do with you. That was gorgeous. And I want to thank you for sharing. So I got a
You are welcome.
couple questions to ask you here. Tell me, what is the philosophy behind your Midas Mindset Advantage program? Tell me about that.
So the philosophy behind Midas Mindset, it deals primarily with developing your growth mindset. And it comes with understanding yourself and being able to look outside and see what triggers those reactions that don't serve you from a place of power. So that's where the philosophy comes from, and looking at the study by Carol Dweck, knowing that we're always in a constant state of growth. It's not static, and we can always do better. Like the saying says, when you know better, you do better.
Yes. And then you mentioned the two words, react and respond. And there's a distinction between those two, aren't there? You want to share a little bit about that?
Yes. So when you react from something, you're giving that something outside of you power. But when you respond and then act, it's from a place of power of understanding yourself, your feelings, and you put it around that thing to say, okay, I get it. I see you. Yeah. Again, you're not going to get the best of me. There's a solution to this. Maybe it doesn't come from me, but I will figure this out and I can get through this. I have the power to overcome anything put in my way.
Got that. Thank you. Tell me, who do you think can best benefit from your program?
From my program, I focus, and I think who can best benefit is many people, but those who are going from a specific change, like myself, leaving the 9 to 5, and even just that fear of taking that step. You know that it's something you need to do, to build that business, chase that dream. I'm all about chasing your dreams, not letting them get away from you, because they're ultimately who you are internally, and you have to pursue them and build them up to grow yourself and be better. So when it comes to stepping out of your comfort zone, that's where I come in. I love to talk with people, and I see where their passion is, and then I get all excited and I want to help, but it helped them see from a standpoint, you can do this.
Somebody's asking in the queue if you would share that number again, your text number, so that they can get those downloads and contact you. Can you share that again, please, Avis?
Of course, no problem. It's 540-443-3705. And text the word victory, and got you covered.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now tell us a little bit about your book, okay, and how we can get that.
Well, it's still in production, but it will be released at the end of July. So even from a standpoint, if you text for your free gifts, I will later, once I get my date leveled out, send you a link, a discounted link before the release, and you can get the book that way. It's about my journey through cancer, but it's from a poetic view. So I'll give some details on what I went through, but then since I can remember from high school, I always wrote poetry. So I have a poetic take on it. That situation, whether it's the relationship, even dealing with the intimacy or lack thereof, cancer can put you through so much, but just getting that out there, and from the perspective of, this is what I went through, this is how I dealt with it, but I just want to be able to share it so other people can learn from it and grow from it and know they're not alone.
They're not alone. Yes. Now, I'm familiar with the work of Carol Dweck, and I really want to thank you for bringing a research-based program and approach, inside of your own process, and then sharing that with other people. That the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset, and all the other resources that you bring to the table. Thank you so much, beautiful sister and beautiful queen. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now.
And introduce Joseph is up next.
All right, excellent. So next up is my wonderful friend, my colleague and mentor and brother, Mr. Joseph B. Washington. Stay tuned for that coming up right after this quick intermission. Thanks, and thanks, Avis.
Dr. Ed, do you have it on your side? Because it's not in this this folder. Can you play it on your end? Can you hear me? Unmute the mic for a second. Sorry, everybody, having a little bit of technical difficulty here.
So
Hey, Sean, I'm gonna do it live, man.
go.
Ready? Hi, this is Joseph B. Washington, and I'm hoping you guys can see me and hear me. I'm super, super excited about these next few moments with you and talking to you from the subject, Let Average Go. From the time I was born up until the time I was about 13 or 14 years of age, I had a severe speech impediment, and I stuttered severely. In my neighborhood, they called me the woo-woo boy. They would ask my brother, hey, Paul, bring your little brother out to the middle of the street. We want to ask him a series of questions. And so my brother loves me, but it's an opportunity for him to win friends at my expense. And so I go to the middle of the street. They start to ask me a series of questions. Then I would start trying to talk. And I'll hear things like, man, your brother's stupid, man. He's dumb. My aunt, I'm sure she was playing. She actually told my mother to stop bringing me to the family reunion because I embarrassed everybody. And it was around the age of 8 that I ran into the house and I told my mother, I said, it's true. She said, what, little boy? I said, I'm stupid and I'm dumb. She said, where'd you get that from? I said, well, that's what the kid said. And then my mother told me in some very explicit language that I won't use on the Back from Broken platform right now. She told me to have a seat. And here's what she told me. She said, Joseph, you're neither stupid or dumb. She said, it's just that your brain and your mouth haven't caught each other. We're going to get them to catch each other. Now, my mother was a graduate of Howard University. She was an English major. She was also a brilliant, the prettiest woman I ever seen in my life. But she also battled with bipolar. She had her own issues that she dealt with. So here I have a mother who deals with bipolar. She has a son who has a speech impediment and also a severe stutter. And so she sits me down and she says, we're going to go on this roller coaster ride to teach you how to articulate and how to enunciate. I remember this movie came on back in the day. I'm sort of dating my age, but it was a movie called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier, Katharine Hepburn, and Spencer Tracy. My mother had me sit in the chair, and I remember this gentleman, Sidney Poitier, speaking. He was saying, very well, thank you. He spoke very eloquent. So my mother said, repeat everything that he says. And so every time he would talk, I would talk. And then she would stand behind me and she would simply say these words to me. She said, Joseph, if you're willing to participate in your own rescue and not play the victim, your mama's going to help you. She said, let's get going. And for the next 7, 8 years, my mother and I went on this roller coaster ride again, teaching me how to enunciate, using cue cards, speaking out loud, reading out loud to myself. By the time I was about 14 years of age, we began to notice a difference in my speech. And then all of a sudden, by the time I was a senior in high school in San Diego State University recruited me on their college debate team to travel around the state of California, debating against college students. And I'm whooping them. Why? Because my mother gave me a dictionary at the age of 11, and she told me to learn these words. But then, you know what? I matriculated out of high school on my way to college. But how many of you know that when you're raised around average people who do average things, you yourself become average? And that's why today I want to talk to you about how do you let average go? How do you break the spirit of average? You know, this is something I battled with for years, not only as a young adult, but even in my adult life, because I surrounded myself around people who were just average. But I made a decision one day after playing football in the streets with my sons. I made a decision one day to just totally let average go. My 14-year-old at the time, Isaiah, we were playing football. Him and his brother would play. I would quarterback. Isaiah tells me on this particular day, "Hey, Dad, I can beat you." And I'm like, "Little boy, I got grown issues. I got grown car payment. I got grown house payment. I ain't got time for this. I'll quarterback, you play your brother." But he kept taunting me. So finally, I just told my other son, I said, "Listen, go get my shoes. I'm going to play this little boy." Well, on the last play of the game, it's a tie score. I tell my son the play I'm going to do. I go down and I go out. I tell my son, pump the ball. When you pump it, Isaiah's going to commit. I'm going to go up the sideline. You hit me and I score a touchdown. Well, I do the down and out. And as I'm going up the sideline, I can't prove this. One day, maybe I will. Isaiah sticks his foot out. And when he sticks his foot out, I crash into the cement. My big old body crashes into the cement. I break both of my arms. I fractured my wrist, and now I'm in a body cast by the time I get home from DeKalb Hospital. And while I'm sitting there having nothing to do, all I can do is go within my head, start thinking about my life. I realized that I was an average guy. I realized that I was doing average things. And that's when I heard the words breaking the spirit of average. And then I said to myself, Joe, if you're going to let average go, how would you go about doing it? Now, I'm an acronym person, so I just took the word average. And from the word average, I created these 7 amazing principles that teach you how to go from average to awesome and from awesome to average. And from awesome to action. And so that's what I want to share with you all this afternoon in these next few moments. Because how do we go from average to awesome? First, we've got to define what is average. And so if you guys want to put in the chat there, you can put your own definition of what average is, but I'll give you what my definition is. You see, average is the top of the bottom and the bottom of the top. It is the best of the worst and the worst of the best. You see, average is like a painkiller that lulls you to sleep while it slowly numbs your senses. Average is that mother who takes her daughter to the all-you-can-eat buffet because she got straight C's. It's that middle passage, it's that middle space. It's what Jesus talked about in Revelations chapter 3 when he talked to the church of Laodicea, and he said, "You're lukewarm. You're neither cold nor hot." I'm a coffee guy. Have you ever had lukewarm coffee? It is the worst. I'd rather have it cold or I'd rather have it hot. But when it's in the middle, there's not much you can do with it. And so I decided to go down this journey to go from average to awesome. And so I had to figure out how was I going to do it. And so I'm going to share these next 7 principles with you. I want you to get a pen and paper. I want you to write this down. And I believe that these 7 principles will literally change your life. So write down the word average, and I'm going to give you the 7 principles of how you go from average to awesome. Number 1, let's look at the letter A, an average. The first thing that you and I have got to do, we've got to adopt a positive attitude. That's right, adopt a positive attitude. You need a healthy, vibrant attitude. But listen, guys, when I found out when you take the word attitude, ATTITUDE, if you count each letter where it falls numerically in the alphabet, how many of you know it comes out to exactly 100? That's correct. The first letter of the A is the first letter, the T is the 20th, the next T is 20, the I is 9, T is 20, U is 21, D is 4, and E is 5. Comes out to exactly 100. So your attitude is 100% of your success or your failure. But somebody said, Mr. Washington, you know what? I have a bunch of knowledge. That only comes out to 96. Another person said, well, I'm a hard worker. That only comes out to 98. So although you're a hard worker and you have tremendous knowledge, it is your attitude that's going to determine your success or your failure. Why? Because if you get enough people to like you because you have a great attitude, a lot of great things can happen for you. You see, I'm on here for Back to, the Back from Broken platform because I met Dr. Womack. We hit it off. Our personalities hit it off. He said, I like you. I want you to come on my platform. What is that? Attitude. But if I had a stanky attitude or I had a bad disposition about myself, I wouldn't be up here talking to you amazing people right now. So the first key to going from average to awesome is your attitude. Is your attitude. And I'm gonna center myself a little bit, make sure you all can see me because I'm sort of wide body. So I see some of my body is going more over to the broken part. So you want to adopt the right attitude, guys. For you all that have children, you guys can understand this. If you got more than 2 kids, right? Let's say you got 3, out of one of them gonna have a bad attitude. And I had one just like you had one. But the ones who had the better attitude, as a parent, you don't mind bringing out your wallet. You don't mind telling them, hey, take this credit card to go shopping. You don't mind doing a little extras. You don't mind even getting an extra job to work to help a child that has a great attitude do some more amazing things in their lives. So the first thing you got to do is adopt a positive attitude. Here's the next thing, the letter V, and I love this one. Value your time. Value your time. Here's what I want to say about time. You and I have got to learn how to move opposite of the crowd with our time. You see, average people follow crowds. Average breakers create them. You know, when me and my wife go to a movie here in Atlanta, Georgia, we don't go on a Friday night at 10 o'clock where you got all them kids and thousands of people. Wendy and I go on a Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock when we've got the theater all to ourselves. And we can enjoy. I can play the popcorn game, the soda game, the whole 9 yards. Why? Because I moved opposite of the crowd. If I go to the Cheesecake Factory here in Atlanta, I don't go at 8 o'clock on a Friday night. I go at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they say, Mr. Washington, please follow me. We have a table for you right here. Why? Because I move opposite of the crowd. If you're going to truly value your time, you got to, number one, you got to take control of your time. Whose time? Your time, which means you got to stop giving your time away to people who you think are more important than you. You got to learn how to begin to control your own time. And then you got to invest your time wisely. Invest your time. Stop investing your time in people, places, and things that are not moving you forward, that are not moving you toward your purpose. So not only do I take control of my time, not only do I invest my time, not only do I move opposite of the crowd with my time, the letter E in the word time is that I enjoy my time. Listen, this life that you and I are living here today is no practice run. We can't do this again. So you got to enjoy the life that you have. This is how we become average breakers. This is how we begin the process of letting average go. So I adopt a positive attitude. I value my time. And then the letter E is you got to enlist the help of a mentor. If you're going to go from average to awesome, you got to have the right mentors in your life. And what does a mentor do? A mentor will stretch you and not shrink you. They will make you better and not make you bitter. But you need somebody who's going to have the emotional integrity to be honest with you. You need somebody who's going to be willing to confront your weaknesses and be willing to tell you the truth about who you are. Listen, you don't need any more criticism from anybody. But what you and I do need, we need constructive feedback. And that's what mentors do. You got to be able to identify the right mentors. Are they a product of the product? Do they have the goods? Can you see something in their lives and in their personal life that can rub off on you for the better? All right. And so when we talk about going from average to awesome, we've got to understand that mentorship is key, because so many of us are trying to be an island to ourselves. So many of us are trying to do it by ourselves. We don't want to collaborate. We don't want to partner with other people. I'll just do it myself because I know if I do it myself, it'll be done right. But you need other people, because remember this, your talents need a team. You need a team of people that can help you get to where you're going. You need the right mentors and the right stretchers, because if you don't get the right stretchers, you're going to end up on a stretcher in a hospital somewhere stressed out. And so what do? We adopt a positive attitude. We value our time. We enlist the help of a mentor. And then the letter R, my dear sister who just came up here, Millicent St. Clair, as I told you all before, if you go into her home, she got books everywhere. And so that fourth key, if you're going to go from average to awesome, you got to read daily. You have to read every single day. I believe it was Emerson who said that every time I learn something new, my mind stretches and it never returns back to its original proportion. Listen, the way that I learned how to articulate and be able to enunciate was my mother gave me books. I remember at the age of 11, my mother told me to read this dictionary. And I remember the first word being aardvark. And she said, I want you to go through this dictionary and learn these words, Joseph. She said, because one day you're going to speak all over the world. This was in the 1970s. My mother wasn't a prophetess. She wasn't a prophet. She wasn't in church, but she saw something deep within inside her son. She saw my purpose. She saw what I could be, she saw my potential and saw what I could become. And guys, I started reading this dictionary. I started reading everything I get my hands on. So when I did start speaking and I got on these platforms, I got to tell you, I cheated. Because a lot of the stuff that I was coming out of my mouth was stuff that I had read. I had consumed so much information that it was literally just coming out of me, mixed with my talent, my own personality, my own message. But I had other guards. I had other guardrails that I could put up that could strengthen what I was saying. Why? Because I heard from and I read from other great leaders. So if you're going to go from average to awesome, you got to read daily. So listen, here's what I want to say to my parents. Most of our kids are not stupid and dumb. They're not. The problem is they're not strong readers. And when you're not a strong reader, you can't do math and science and literature and all of that. So maybe you need to take the Jordans back. Take that money and get them some tutorial. Maybe you need to take the Jordans back and get somebody to come to the house and start mentoring your kids in the area of reading. Reading is important. We have so many adults right now who read on a 4th grade reading level. Right now, they're building jails based on a 4th grade reading level of young African-American boys, because they know that if they can't read, there's only 2 choices for them, either jail or death. And so we've got to pick that book back up. We've got to start reading again. We've got to get off some of the social media all day long and just pick up a book like we used to do back in the day and just have some good old fashioned fun reading. We're talking about let average go. We're talking about how do I go from average to awesome? Well, again, you adopt a positive attitude. You value your time. You enlist the help of a mentor. You read daily. And then the next A is anticipate opposition, because the dream killers are coming. You see this back from Broken Platform. There are people who didn't want this, I'm sure. There are people who probably said it would never work. They'll never be able to do that. That's that opposition. But you need opposition. You need those haters. You need folks that's going to fight against you. So you have something to fight for. You know, I experienced my opposition, and it was actually August 12th, 2011 at 3:24 p.m. You remember that amazing mother that I told you about, my shero that Brother Ghazi talked about with his mom? Well, I can say the same thing about my mother. My mother was my world. She was my everything. She is the reason why I stand here today, because she infused in me, Joseph, participate in your own rescue. Joseph, don't play the victim. Joseph, remember, practice doesn't make perfect, but it makes better. But on August 12, 2011 at 3:24, I received the worst news of my life, that my mother had just passed in a car accident. You can only imagine that my life had changed. You see, I didn't care about being average anymore. In fact, I had started to digress and go back into that place called average, because I started to feel sorry for myself. I was not the one person that I could always count on was no longer there. And the more and more I went into this drought, the more and more I heard my mother's voice saying, boy, you better get up. You better get up out of that drought. I paid too much. I did too much work with you for you to sit here now and be average. And guys, I got back up. I took that opposition. I forged, further ahead, and the best is yet to come. But we're all going to deal with opposition. We're all going to deal with pain. We're all going to deal with hurt. We're all going to need healing. I think I was telling somebody the other day, as it relates to healing, we've got to be able to heal from what hurt us, because if we don't, we'll bleed on the people that cut us, that didn't cut us. We're bleeding on people that had nothing to do with the hurt and pain that we're dealing with. So we've got to deal with this opposition, and we've got to get healed. So I adopt a positive attitude. I value my time. I enlist the help of a mentor. I read daily. I anticipate opposition. The next 2 principles, and the letter G is guard your goals. God, I love this one. Guard your goals. I think it was Dr. Benjamin Mays who said, it must be born into the mind of a man that the tragedy in life is not that you didn't have any goals. The tragedy in life is that you have no goals to fulfill. Dr. Benjamin Mays, that he knew that many people had goals within their mind, within their heart, but they didn't have anything written down. They didn't have anything within their vision. That's why there's 2 types of goals. You've got to have written goals, and you've got to have visual goals. I want everybody to repeat after me. Say, a short pencil is better than a long memory. A short pencil is better than a long memory. What do I mean by that? You got to write your goals down. You got to write them down. You got to put pen to paper. You know, when you start getting my age, some things you start to forget. So you've got to put pen to paper. So a short pencil is better than a long memory. And then the second thing I want you to write down is write down this. The me I see is the me I'll be. You've got to have visual goals. Get you a dream board, cut out your pictures, put them on your board. And at the top of that board, put the me I see is the me I'll be. Because if you're going to go from average to awesome, you got to have written goals. You got to have visual goals. You got to have goals lined up that you know that you can fulfill. You know, a lot of people talk about goals. One of the things that I will say is be realistic with your goals. You know, write your goals down, make sure they're measurable, put timetables next to them, but you got to have goals. So you got to guard your goals. And as I come to the close, I'm going to give you the last principle, but let's go back over the first 6. We talked about adopt a positive attitude, having a healthy, vibrant attitude. We talked about value your time, moving opposite of the crowd. We talked about enlisting the help of a mentor, getting somebody who's going to stretch you and not shrink you. We talked about reading daily, having read something so much that your mind starts to expand and grow that it never returns back to its original proportion. We talked about opposition. Opposition is something you and I are going to face for the rest of our life, but it is good. It is healthy. It will do you good. And then we talked about guard your goals, right? Written goals versus visual goals. And then finally, The last key to go from average to awesome is you got to empower your belief system. Empower your belief system. When I was little, I went to the zoo. I went to the circus, and there was a baby elephant there. And the trainer would bring the baby elephant out to the showcase, and the elephant would do tricks and stuff. And then the trainer would take the elephant, the little baby elephant, he would take the baby elephant back in back of the tent, and he would chain the baby elephant's foot to a stake. Well, I went back 20 years later, that same elephant now is as big as this room, big as the tent. And the elephant did tricks, but the elephant went right back to the back of the tent, and the trainer tied his foot to a stake again. So when everybody left out, I went in the back of the tent and I asked the elephant, I said, Mr. Elephant, why are you in the same place today, 20 years later, that you was 20 years ago when you were a baby elephant? And here's what the elephant said to me. He said, when I was little, I was held captive by force. He said, but now as a grown adult elephant, I'm now held captive by my belief system. Get that, guys. See, when you were younger, there wasn't much you could do. You had grown people telling you what to do all day, how to do it, where to do it, when to do it. But now as an adult, you're still stuck in that same place with your belief system. What do you believe about yourself? Who do you say that you are? You know, Marla B talked about not abandoning yourself. Ghazi talked about the amazing relationship that he had with his mother. You know, for many of us on here that are God-fearing, we have this amazing relationship with God. But what do you believe about yourself? Do you believe that you're the overweight or skinny girl or the bald-headed boy or whatever it may be, too dark, too light, whatever? Do you still believe all those lies? Or do you believe the truth about who you really are, that you're amazing, that you're awesome, that you're an average breaker? I'm here to tell you as I close today that no matter where you are in life, you can take the challenge today to let average go. You can make a decision today to go from average to awesome and from awesome to average. From awesome to action. So I want to encourage each and every one of you all today to let average go, to break the spirit of average, to make this your mantra today, that I will no longer settle for mediocrity. I will be what God has created me to be, to live out my purpose and my dreams, and I will live a life that only others can dream of. Because here's what I do know, that you are an average breaker all day, every day. Thank you.
Well. Here we are. Once again, up in here. So let's center both ourselves. There we go. Boom. So they can get all this deliciousness in one spot. Actually, let's move over just a little bit more. There you go. There we go. Boom. Now we up in here. So now y'all can see why we have such a bromance, because one, the iron sharpening that takes place when we get the opportunity to just chop it up is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, and you all, anybody who's seen me anywhere know how I end every single broadcast without fail with good, better, best. You can't let it rest. Sounds like an average breaker alignment to me. And so if we don't settle for the okie doke or the mediocre, then we can elevate to that above average state that Joe shared with us today. Now you mentioned, not today, but you mentioned, and I need to hear it again, because I've given you credit once, but I need two more, but I got to remember it correctly to get it right.
Sure.
But the pigeons and the eagle thingy, what they celebrate?
Yeah, well, you know, when we talk about average, we talk about pigeons, right? And so what I found out is that people will feed pigeons, but they shoot eagles.
Man, put some mozzarella on that thing, bro.
So when we talk about going from average to awesome, the pigeon in your life, the average in your life. See, people will feed that because misery loves company. They want you to stay at that place. They don't want you to go beyond where they're going, right? So they'll continue to feed the average in your life. They'll continue to tell you, you don't need to do nothing else. Man, you make enough money. You good. Hey, man, don't worry about all that. We're going to go out and party. We're going to do our thing. They'll feed the pigeon. But they'll shoot at the eagle the day that you come and say, you know what? I heard this bald-headed dude tell me I need to let average go. And so I'm going to cut down on the party, and I'm going to cut down on all this other stuff because I got somewhere I need to go. I got some. So then what will they do? They'll start killing the eagle in you, defaming your character, talking about you. Oh, he think he all that. He think he's something now. So people will feed the pigeon in your life, but they'll kill the eagle.
If you ain't paid nothing else forward today in the feed, please drop that one in there for me. People will feed the pigeon.
The average in your life. Yep.
The average in your life.
But they'll shoot at the eagles, which is your excellence, which is your average breaker stance. Because remember, we talked about average people follow crowds.
Yeah.
Average breakers create them.
That was another one. I didn't see that one come across the feed, and I was otherwise preoccupied. Thank you so much, Kakisha. We appreciate you. People will feed pigeons, the average, but will shoot the eagle. Man, that's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
powerful, and it's so realistic,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I liken it to what I call the crab theory.
Mm.
And it's like every other culture on the planet knows how to work together, elevate one
Yep.
another until they each make it out, make
That's right.
ahead, get beyond.
That's right.
But as the urban leadership strategist, right here, right now, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, damn it, we got to get it together, y'all.
Yeah.
Because every other culture on the planet is doing it. And with the exception of brown and black people, now that the Hispanics, they kind of got it.
Yeah.
They got a clue.
Yeah.
So I can't say all black and brown.
Yeah.
But us,
Yeah.
we got to quit playing, y'all.
Yeah.
And we are, and a part of the reason that a lot of the social injustices, well, let me not do that. The focus is on you. Help me understand, what do you believe, or how do you believe that the average mindset lends to the social injustices that are playing out in our world today?
Yeah, I think, as it relates to, particularly people of color, African-American people, it is no fact that we've gone through a lot. We've dealt with a lot as a race of people for the last 200 years. But at some point, we've got to break the cycle of what the past has been. So often, and I'm glad you asked this question, and it takes courage for you as a leader, as a man, to ask that question. So often as African-Americans, we focus so much on slavery.
Yeah.
And think that was the totality of our lives.
Exactly.
But we had kings and queens before that. We had, the richest man in the world was an African-American. So I think in this time, when we deal with reparations, I think reparation is learn how to read. I think reparations is just get a plan, have a purpose for your life, because all things are possible if you're willing to let average go. Because here's what I know, that there's still room at the top.
Yeah, it is.
It's at the bottom where it's crowded.
It's crowded.
They will
down there.
fight you like hell for you to take their position at that place called average.
Yeah.
But at the top, you decide to go up
And
there.
a whole lot of competition.
And a lot of competition up
And
there.
a whole lot
Doc.
of competition.
It's free up there.
You know what, man? I love you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
We went a little bit long. I want to get back on track, but as
Love you,
always,
man.
love
Yes,
you
sir.
too, brother. And we
Yes,
just
sir.
gonna continue to
Yes,
grow,
sir.
change lives, and transform. So coming to the mic next, we have hold the phone. Let me not do that again. Okay, here we go. Next, coming to the stage, we got a sister that is all about uplifting, enriching men, believe it or not. And she has been just an amazing confidant, contributor, and even someone who told me, Dr. Ed, you need to go sit your ass down for a minute. And I was like, And I chewed on it. It did not taste well, but I'm so grateful that I took heed and did, because now here you have the Back from Broken movement birthing with the appropriate covering, with my allegiance to the big guy up on high. So y'all go ahead and stand to your virtual feet and warmly welcome to the Back from Broken stage, Sister Queen Kokisha LaShawn. Take it away, Sean.
Hi, my name is Kokisha LaShawn, and I'm the founder of the Accelerated Into Purpose and the overseer for Humbled by His Grace Ministries, where I am a 7-time author, writing coach, editor, self-publishing consultant, as well as a spiritual mindset coach. I am super happy and elated to be with you today at this Back from Broken Summit, and I hope and pray that you have already received some major nuggets from the speakers before me, and know that there is more to come from the speakers after me. With that being said, I want to first share with you something that I remember. I was working in corrections. It was a maximum facility for all males, and I had transitioned from the 12-hour night shift to 8-hour days. And there was this lady in the mental health department who I was now working with. She would oftentimes come and pray for me. This one particular time, though, and I don't even remember what was going on in my life, but I just remember she came and she prayed. And after she prayed, she shared this verse with me from Ephesians 5:8 that says, "For you were once in darkness, but now you are light in the Lord." I hope, and I want to free somebody today from whatever darkness that you've been in. And I want to share some tips, some points, some steps that you can take to go from darkness and into the light. Number one, understand the true nature of who God is. Why is this so important? Because a lot of times we tend to see God the way we see our parents, our loved ones, our friends, people who say they love us, but because of something we did, because of the thing we struggle with, they've actually wrote us off. They've discarded us, they've disowned us, they have pretty much said the bridges are burned and they have washed their hands of us. And because that's what they've done, we think that's how God is going to do too. We think that's how God is going to see us. But I want to share with you a verse from Deuteronomy 32:10 that says, in a desert land, he found him in a barren and howling waste. He cared for him and shielded him, and he guarded him as the apple of his eye. Let me read that again the right way. In a desert land, he found him in a barren and howling waste. He shielded him and cared for him. He guarded him as the apple of his eye. When you read that verse, does that sound like a God who hates you? Does that sound like a God who has washed his hands of you? Does that sound like a God who has disowned you? No, not at all. That sounds like a God who cares, who is gracious, who is graceful, merciful, and forgiving. And that's what I need you to understand. I need you to embrace that. I need you to see that God is not as man. He has a different perspective of who you are. One reason being because he created you. He already knows the greatness in you, despite of the dark pit that you may be in now. So number one, understand the true nature of God. And that's important because number two is you are now at a place where you need to confess, admit, and acknowledge. And that is a very vulnerable place in this process. And it also means relinquishing control to God. And it's not easy to confess something to somebody if you hate them or if you think they don't like you. But when you understand the true nature of God, it makes it just a little bit easier to say, God, this is what I struggle with. I tried to do it on my own. I tried to conquer this by myself, by my own might and power, but I realized that I just keep making it worse. So Lord, I'm giving this to you. Lord, I'm confessing I'm tired of dealing with this. And yes, he knows what you're going through. He knows what you've done and what you are doing. But when you confess, when you acknowledge, when you admit, that's also you taking responsibility. Number three, I want you to now ask and then receive God's forgiveness. Ask God to forgive you for not being a proper steward over the resources, over the family, over the thing that he has given you dominion over. Ask him to forgive you, but then make sure you receive it. Because the enemy likes to put the shame and guilt on you and make you think you're unworthy. And that's condemnation. And yes, well, there may be a conviction in your spirit from God, he is not condemning you. He wants to see you do better. He wants to see you rise up. He wants to see you be a better person, because in you rising up, then that allows him to pour more blessings into you and on you so that you can be a light to somebody else. So again, understand the true nature of God so that you can now confess, acknowledge, and admit to him. Then ask and receive his forgiveness. Number four, some people may struggle with this. It may get emotional for you. However you feel, that's between you, the mirror, and God. But number four is ask yourself for forgiveness. I remember I was in a coaching program, and this was one of the exercises that she had us to do, stand in front of a mirror and actually record ourselves and say, I forgive myself. And this is what that may look like. I forgive me. I forgive you, Kokisha, whatever your name is. I forgive you for not valuing yourself. I forgive you for not valuing your body. I forgive you for thinking you had to people please, for thinking you had to do this or do that to be accepted, to fit in, to belong. I forgive you for being abusive, physically, emotionally, verbally, to your spouse, to your kids, to the people that love you the most. I forgive you for this. Whatever it is that you've done in your life, you know That's what you ask yourself for forgiveness for. And then last but not least, and definitely the most important one of all, and I say this because, man, the enemy thinks he is so tricky, but we have got to overcome him. We have got to realize not to give him any leeway. So number 5 is leave no space open. What do I mean by that? You've confessed. You've given your struggle, your stronghold, your whatever it is, your addiction to God and say, Lord, this is what I'm dealing with, and I give it to you. You have opened this space now in your heart, in your spirit. And yes, maybe you gave these things up because you know you need to now devote more time to your family, devote more time to your kids, devote more time to your ministry, devote more time to outreach. And that's good. But be careful that you don't leave God out, because that was the whole point of you giving something up in the first place, so that you decrease in self and increase in God. When you allow God, first of all, when you invite God to come into you, then that allows him to set up this hedge of protection over you, in you, around you from the enemy. Because the enemy, we know he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But we also know from Matthew 12, 43 through 45, that the enemy will go away and he will come back. He will see your empty space. He will go back and get 7 of his little ugly friends and he will bring them back. So what that means is, where you may have only struggled with drinking before, when he comes back with his 7 friends, not only are you struggling with drinking, but now he's added abuse. Now you're also abusive with the drinking. Now you're also missing work maybe because of the drinking. Now it's showing up in your attitude where maybe nobody didn't know because you kept it hidden. Now it's becoming exposed. So where it was maybe not quite as known before, oh, when the enemy comes back, he's coming back, and he's coming back with a vengeance, because you had the nerve to say, I give it over to God. And that's how he works. So I want you to remember, please, 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 if you don't do anything else. And we also have to be careful that we're not exchanging vice for vice. Like, I give up online sites, I'm giving up gambling, I'm giving up drinking, I'm giving up sex. And then I start shopping, or then I start eating more. So those are things we have to be careful too. But again, the process of going from darkness into light starts with you understanding the true nature of God, confessing, being okay to admit what it is that you struggle with, asking, receiving God's forgiveness, asking yourself for forgiveness, and then leaving no space open. Make sure you invite God into that open space. Lord, now that I've gotten rid of this, I need you to come in. Lord, you are welcome in this place. Holy Spirit, you are welcome in this place. You have permission to come in to me, to dwell in me, to abide in me, to help me, to shield me, and to care for me. Remember that verse that I shared in the beginning? He will shield you. He will care for you. And because he guards you as the apple of his eye. God truly, truly cares for you in spite of what you've done, in spite of what you've been through, no matter the dark pits you've been in. I don't care how filthy they are. And I say this, and I want to leave you with this too. When I think about the grace of God and the love of God, there's a commercial. There's a Dawn commercial where it shows how all of these animals have been covered, like literally covered with oil to the point they can barely move. They are so bound. And then someone comes along and they take the dish detergent Dawn and they start to wash them. And they're really gentle with them as they clean them. And they keep them, they don't just, they can't go anywhere, they can't really do for themselves. So they take care of them, making sure that they're good before they send them back out to fight again or send them back out to land again. That's the same way God is with and for you. He will clean you. He will wash you white as snow. He will remove all that dirt and that filth. And let me tell you this, something that I've learned, because when I share my story of how I lost my virginity at the age of 13, how I dealt with sex addiction for 20 plus years after that, and I'm talking about all things dealing sex pretty much. And when they see who I am now, especially new people that I meet, they see no trace of that. They can't even believe that I even went through some of the things that I've gone through, or that I even brought on myself. And that's the nature of God. That's the beauty of relinquishing to God, because He will wash you so clean that your stains, your past, nobody will even know. It'll almost be as if it didn't happen. That's how much He cleanses you. That's how much He washes you. That's how much He loves you into your righteousness. So yeah, there is a back from broken. Yes, you can go from darkness and into light. Just remember to understand who God is. Confess. Ask, receive His forgiveness. Ask yourself to forgive you, and leave no space open. My name is Kokisha LaShawn, and again, I am the founder of the Accelerated into Purpose and Humbled by His Grace Ministries. I would love to help you, whether it is writing your story or even being coached out of your brokenness. I am available at kokishalashawn.com. Again, you can find me on social media at Kokisha LaShawn, or you can visit my website, kokishalashawn.com. And please, that is where you will also find your free gift from me. Thank you, and have an awesome.
Well, my lips was moving, but wasn't nothing coming out of them. There we go. Kokisha LaShawn, thank you so much for gracing our stage here at Back from Broken. And thank you for having the courage to tell a brother, yo, go sit your behind down and get yourself realigned with God. We'll still be here. And I never forgot that statement. And I am just humbled, and I am grateful that you would think enough of me to just give a brother the benefit of the doubt and tell me the truth, as opposed to, just walking away or turning your back. So I'm eternally grateful for you and several others that were in that posture of, bro, go sit yourself down somewhere, get your head right. Most importantly, get your relationship with the King on high correct. And so the placement was out of place. And I think there's some congratulations in order. Didn't you just recently get certified, like in the last couple of days or something? You got so much amazingness going on. It's hard to keep up with. So talk to me, talk to us. What celebrate, girl, celebrate. What just happened?
So thank you so much, Dr. Ed, for allowing me to be here. And if I can real quickly just say, if I was to walk away, and I think I told you this before too, and I'm surprised you remember that statement, but I think I remember telling you this before. If I was to walk away from you, that would be walking away from what God is calling me to do, because that's what I'm all about, is helping people, deal with people as far as the second chances and being merciful. So I just wanted to say that. But yes, I did just get licensed as a minister on the 30th of last month.
Praise God. Praise God. You just busy everywhere. I'm checking, because I actually take a look at everybody. Just because I'm not actually actively responding don't mean I'm not paying attention. And so I'm just really proud of you. I think you're going to be in Detroit next weekend, and I'll be in Detroit next weekend. So hopefully we can break bread and have an opportunity to catch up while I'm there. But I want to know, as the from darkness to light, what was the biggest defining moment to help that take place, to go from darkness to light?
I would have to say, personally, it was understanding how God saw me. It was allowing myself to see myself as He sees me. I think that was the defining moment, and that actually happened around 2018, and it was actually I was at church, and the preacher asked that question: "Do you see yourself as God sees you?" And that was a defining moment for me. That helped literally from the minute I heard that sermon, completely turn my life around. Where before it was just homework and church. After that, that's why I'm here today, because of that one question: "Do you see yourself as God sees you?"
Wow, and that's a very amazing vision to have, or an understanding of a vision to have, because a lot of times some of us that are the victims and or the culprits, or even the person who has issued trauma, it leaves peripheral damage, and sometimes we don't realize that sometimes that peripheral damage can actually be a building block for us to be able to get to that next higher version of ourselves. I'm reminded of something that Auntie Millie said early this morning to kick us off. She was like, I've had 3 marriages, but they were all good marriages, even though they didn't all last. And I was like, what are you talking about, Willis? And then she broke it down and backstage. I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
I get it. And then I remember Ghazi telling me, or having a conversation about the dirt. And so when you think about your journey and how you are now walking in purpose versus merely just existing as perhaps you were previously, what's the difference in how you wake up every day?
I'm grateful for the opportunity to even still be here. And I'm thankful that that God has given me that chance to still walk in my purpose. Whereas before I was kind of nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
Now I'm not so much as nonchalant. And it's like, okay, you got people that's waiting on you to step up, to step forward. And I know that, it's not all about me. So, I have to think about the other people that God has called me to. And so that's what's different between before and now, knowing that, for one, I asked for this. I told God, have your way with me. And that's what this is all a part of, him having his way with me. So he's done his part. I got to do my part.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Keisha, before we let you get out of here, once again, tell people how they can connect and stay connected to you and all the different things that you got going on.
Awesome. Yeah. So I am on all social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, WordPress, as Kokisha LaShawn. And you can see the information rolling across on how to properly spell my name. You can also visit me at kokishalashawn.com. And for your free offer, which is a PDF on how on verses that you can refer to on how God sees you, just go to kokishalashawn.com/BFB Summit. And it's going across the screen for you now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And everybody out there, we want to just further encourage you and applaud you for partaking and giving us a piece of your most precious gift, which is your time, especially on a Saturday. We were just chopping it up here in the studio. And it's like the people on Clubhouse, what's going on, y'all? In fact, let me not even trip. Let me give out some straight up real time insight on what's happening. I said it straight up for you grammarians. Yes, I did. Because we going to keep getting gooder and gooder up in here. Because I ain't scared of y'all. So Clubhouse, they showing out over there. The room is still loaded. And I'm like, so grateful to God. And I mean, it's not like people are even leaving. And so we want to appropriately acknowledge those people that are still in the room. I don't want to just be generic, because we value you guys so much, because the only reason this summit is even happening is because of Clubhouse. And so I don't forget where I came from. Like, for instance, I tell people all the time, you can take a brother out the city, but you can't take the city out of brother. And I'm from Detroit, West Side. And I just never forget where I came from. And so as far as this summit is concerned, for those of you that might know over in Clubhouse, who happen to be Marla, Nick Keys, Sean, Dr. Mac, Ingrid, the Queen, great literally in her name. Nikki in the building. What's going on, Nikki? Brother King Joseph, Sister Queen Chandra, Tammy, Gloria, Mary, Nicole, who is coming up next. So get your pens and paper because she got it going on relative to that joy thing, y'all. Natalie, doggone it. Delasber. You ain't gonna keep challenging my hooked on phonics. I'm gonna need you to come to the stage and tell me how to pronounce that because I don't like tearing up people's names. Sister Queen Priscilla, Amari, Keisha, Donna, Sister Queen Donna Issett in the building, y'all. What's going on, Prophetess? Janice, Tasha, Patrick, Maurice, Natasha, Michelle, Angela, Longo, Max, April, and Stewart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You cannot see me saluting you, but know that I am saluting you on behalf to the Facebook and YouTube world. And guess what? Tomorrow we're going to break off into LinkedIn Live because I just seen the notification come through a few moments ago. So we're going to expand the reach intentionally tomorrow. So coming up next, y'all, with the power of joy, the word filler later. I love her, love her, love her. Sister Queen Nicole Carter, who also has a graduating a person in her family that's graduating. I don't remember if it was son or daughter, so I don't want to misconstrue that. But we're going to say congratulations inch your way. So that being said, Sean, take it away. Thank you, Kakisha. We appreciate you, and we'll hopefully see you in Detroit next week.
Awesome. Thank you.
You bet.
Hello, everyone. I am Nicole Carter, the ultimate joy leader, and I am so excited about being a part of the Back from Broken Summit. Before I begin, I have to give a huge shout out to the visionary of Back from Broken, my friend, Mr. Ed Womack. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. And also to We Rise Media and the entire Back from Broken team. You guys have done a phenomenal job preparing everyone for the session and marketing. Oh my goodness, you guys have done phenomenal. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get it going. As I mentioned, I am Nicole Carter, the ultimate joy leader, where it is my God-given mission to provide women with the proven plan to obtain and sustain true joy. And that's what we're going to talk about today, how to crack the code to true joy. Now, I'm not talking about just that surface happiness or that happy face that you may put on when you're around certain people. No. I'm talking about true joy. Regardless of what's happening all around you, you really have a peace that surpasses understanding. You have this joy, this excitement that is shared and spread throughout anyone that you may come in contact with. That's what we're going to talk about today. But before I get to that place, I have to share my story. And it's actually depicted in this picture that's behind me. Yes, this picture that's behind me illustrates the last 25 years of my life. What do you see? Take this opportunity to write down on your paper or put in the chat box 3 things that you see in this picture behind me. What do you see? Most people, when I ask that question, the very first thing that they write down is a building or 2. You see the buildings behind me? Yeah, most people write down a building. Then some people will write down trees. There are a couple of trees that are behind me as well. But there is one thing in this picture that most people overlook or just don't see. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So let's start from the beginning. 25 years ago, I had my first bundle of joy. And of course, that was an exciting yet tumultuous time in my life as well, because I was just a few months from graduating from college when I had her. I was single, and I was several counties away from my mom and my dad. So I chose to go back home to have her, but then of course I had to go back to school to finish my degree. And as you can probably guess, that was a very stressful time in my life. Because not only am I a new mom, but I'm also trying to find a job in my career. Now, if you guys can calculate, that's back in the early 90s or mid 90s. And most people who were graduating college, they didn't have a job waiting for them when they crossed that stage, much less a job in their career or their major. So being young, naive, single mom, severely depressed, I decided to move back home, which is where I said I would never go. Because I'm that independent woman. I had that independence in me, even at an early age. But because I had a child, I decided to move back home. And once I moved back home, guess what? Doors began to open up. And I received a job offer in my major. And it happened to be in the tallest building that's in this picture. That's the start. And guys, it's so funny because as I think about that story, when I started working in this building, the tallest building behind me here, I started on the first floor because the department that I was hired into was on the first floor of this tall building. And that's significant because over the 20 years that I was there, I worked myself up in title and in floors. I started off in a frontline position, processing position, and I worked my way up to assistant vice president in a predominantly Caucasian male industry. I rose to assistant vice president in title, as I mentioned, but also in floors. The last floor that I had in a corner office with a huge team was on the 15th floor. And I say all of that to say, as I progressed, so did the level of masks that I wore. And you may be saying, Nicole, what are you talking about masks? This is what I'm saying. I made a lot of money. I was raising my daughters. I did have 2 daughters. I did get married. And on the outside, it looked like I had it all together. How many of you know that as women, sometimes we can act like we got it all together? And I'm not going to just say just women, because men can do it too. On the outside, it looks like we have it all together, but on the inside, it's just a bunch of mess. Let me tell you a secret that not many people who are even close to me know. I was severely depressed for many years. I was working in the church, had several different positions, high profile positions in the church, in the ministry, at work. I had several people reporting to me. I made lots of money. I had a great family, but on the inside, I was depressed. It's hard trying to put on these different masks to make it seem like we have it all together. And that brought me to a place where I realized there has to be something more to this. I don't want to pretend like I'm happy anymore. I don't want to put on a mask so that other people can think I have it all together. I want to have it all together. So when I began to reflect back on the things that I went through, I realized that my life was a train wreck, which is what people tend to miss in this picture. If you look directly behind me, right here behind me, there is this rusty train car. And that's why I said this picture depicts the last 25 years of my life. Because although I was fortunate enough to get a job in my major, I had 2 beautiful children. I was married, but it wasn't an ordained marriage, so it ended. I got a divorce. I was super depressed. And as I mentioned before, most people that knew me, let me say it real, nobody knew how depressed I really was. Nobody knew that at night I thought about ways that I could take my life and it not impact my daughters. I thought about ways that I could end my life and they still have a successful life. Needless to say, I didn't come up with any. No ways to take my life. But boy, did I crack the code to joy. And guys, it's very simple. The code is in the letters. You asked me, Nicole, how is it that you can always be so bubbly? How is it that you could always find that the glass is half full and not half empty? Why are you so excited all the time? My middle school students say, Mrs. Carter, you are over the top. You're always excited. It's too early for all of that. Let me tell you guys, it's in the letters. J-O-Y. This is the secret code to true joy. The first letter is the J, and that stands for Jesus. Now, I know some people may not believe, but I'm telling you about how I cracked the code to true joy. And the first thing is to have a relationship with Jesus. That's how I cracked the code to true joy. J, Jesus. Every day, I write down specific activities that I'm going to do that day to strengthen my relationship with Jesus. Now, listen very carefully because this is important. You don't have to go around acting like a Bible carrying, Jesus preaching saint that turns everyone away. No, 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 sweetie. It's all about having true love for everyone. And in order to do that, you have to really figure out how to do that. And the secret is in relationship, not ritual. You have to have a relationship. And when I say not ritual, I was raised in the church. Every time the doors was open, we were there. Sunday school, morning worship, Bible study, prayer meeting, choir practice, church meetings, just about everything that you can imagine. My parents drugged me to the church for. Drug us, because I had siblings. I have siblings. But the point is, that was the ritual. I didn't have a relationship. I did those things because that's what we were told to do. But when I had a real relationship, that's when I started seeing true joy in my life. That's the first step. The J, Jesus. Having a real relationship with Jesus. And in order to do that, you have to spend time with him. You got to study the word. You got to figure out what it is that he wants for your life. He being Jesus. And that's what worked for me. That's the start of cracking the code. But it's not the only piece because there's 2 more letters. The second letter is O. And that letter stands for others. You want to crack the code to true joy? You have to know how to work with others. Now, I know there is a song out there, long as I got King Jesus, I don't need nobody else, but that's a lie. Because unless you're going to go and live up under a rock somewhere, you have to know how to interact and how to work with others. And that's why the second letter O, others, is so important. And this is where I encourage people to write down your proactive plan of how you want to interact with other people, how you want to bless other people, how you want to encourage other people. And specifically, you need to identify any areas in your life where people may trigger you to act in a way that you know you shouldn't, or a way that you're not proud of. For me, I have a major issue with road rage. Let me say that again. I used to have a major issue with road rage. So every day I have to write down what I'm going to do when someone cuts me off, or what I'm going to do if someone slams on brakes in front of me, or if someone is driving really slow, like driving Miss Daisy, and I have somewhere to be. I write down, I'm just going to say, Lord, thank you for keeping me from that accident down that street. And that keeps my blood pressure down, and that keeps that joy meter up. For you, it could be something totally different. It could be something that your spouse says to you that you don't like, or that your spouse does that you don't like, or it could be something that your children may do or don't do that will cause you to act in a certain way. You need to be proactive in those situations on a daily basis and how you want to respond to those situations. Can I say it again? That's how you crack the code to true joy. That's what you do. J, Jesus, gotta have a relationship. O, others. How are you going to interact with others? And then the last letter is just as important. That Y stands for you. Yes, you. This is where most people fall short. If you want to have true joy, you want to take off those masks that you've been wearing for years with that fake smile on it, you want to have true joy, you have to do something for you every day. Let me say it again. You have to do something for you every day. I don't care how small it is or how big it is, but you have to do something for you every day. Self-care these days is a buzzword that people use, but they really don't actually do it. They speak about it, but they don't put it in action. I charge you today to do at least one thing for you every day. It could be as small as eating your favorite candy bar when you know you're on a diet, or getting your nails done, or guys, getting your mustache and your beard and your hair done by a professional, because I know a lot of guys do that themselves nowadays, by a professional. Get your toes done. Nail salons aren't just for females. Or it could be something as big as go on vacation out of the country or to your favorite location, the beach or the mountains or somewhere in between. You have to do at least one thing for you every day. Crack, that's the code. Crack, I just cracked the code to true joy. Guys, I'm Nicole Carter, the ultimate joy leader, and I do this every day. Encourage people to take off their masks, stop pretending to be happy, and have true joy. It is possible. That is how you can obtain and sustain true joy. You obtain by realizing that, hey, I have on a mask. There is something I need to do. And then you sustain by writing those three things down every day. The J, Jesus. What activities are you going to do today to strengthen your relationship with Jesus? The O, others. What is your proactive plan on how you're going to interact with others? The Y, you. What is one thing you're going to do for you today? That is the code. That is the code to true joy. It's in the word, J-O-Y, Jesus, others, and you. So guys, when you have an opportunity, go on out to my website, establishingjoy.com, and you can find more information about how to obtain and sustain true joy. It's all about cracking the code, guys. It's as simple as J-O-Y. Thank you guys, Nicole Carter, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody. Hello, hello, hey.
Well, that was hot. Crack the code, and the order was proper. Jesus, others, and you. Oh my goodness. Pop. What it do, what it do. Thank you, Sister Queen Nicole. That was powerful, 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 and laden not only with wisdom and nuggets, but free. I was counting. I was waiting for you to drop one.
How many did you count? How many did you count?
I didn't. I didn't. If you slipped one in, I missed it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I didn't think I used any, but of course, I've been practicing for years.
Exactly. And I love it. I love it. When I first encountered you in a clubhouse room, it was in a room where we were going through refining your speaking, and the topic just so happened to be filler words. I was like, oh, they coming down my line. I'm feeling that one. Because it is something that if you're not conscious of, you will get caught up in it and not even know, and be turning people off. Because I'm a critical listener, because good speakers are great listeners.
Right.
And if you come with a bunch of I'm like, no, I don't know, and I'm leaving. But anywho, that's a whole different topic. Congratulations. I know this is a super weekend for you. Now, is it your son or your daughter that's graduating? That's my first question.
My daughter, the last one. We're gonna have an empty nest. Woo woo!
You ain't happy about that, are you? Don't say that too loud. She might be like, "Oh no, we ain't leaving." No, congratulations to the little princess. He said she ain't got to go home, but she got to get the hell up out of here. I hear you. My babies are grown and gone as well, and it was a momentous occasion. And on occasion, I do miss them, but not very often, because they are doing well, and God is good, and all the time He's good to them. So this cracking the code. How did you come up with this formula, aside from the obvious common sense that's inside of it? But it appears as though you've actually developed it into a brand. So how did you get to the point of really putting the energy and the time into building the code Crack to Joy as a brand?
Absolutely wonderful question. It was actually a vision that was given to me back in 2009, and I put it on the shelf, Joy. I put it on the shelf until I came in contact with a fabulous mentor in 2019 that said, God has a book for you. And I wrote the book, Establishing Joy. It's a very unique book where it actually has my story involved in the book. It's a fictional series where it has a storyline, and within the storyline, it talks about how to establish joy with the Joy, and it emphasizes the importance of making sure you every day write down the 3 sections. J, what I'm going to do to strengthen my relationship with Jesus, because you got to have a relationship. In order to do that, you got to spend time with somebody, right? The O, how I'm going to interact with others, because you're going to come in contact with other people. And then the why, you have to take care of yourself. You have to do something for yourself. And not to 2019 is when I wrote the first book. There's several books coming out behind that. 2 of them are already published, and 1 is coming out in August. I'm telling you guys, that it is possible. Regardless of what you experience, you can have true joy.
Now I'm gonna deviate from your seed questions, but I think you can handle it. You're a seasoned pro.
That's okay.
So a lot of times I hear people use the term joy and happiness as though they're synonymous. Are they, or is there a difference?
They are completely different. Happiness is connected to what's going on. If my dog is doing what he or she is supposed to do, I'm happy, especially if it's one that normally pees in the house. I'm happy about that. If my children are acting right that day, I'm happy about that. But true joy is a state of mind. It's how you feel on the inside. So when things are going wrong on the outside, you can still see some positiveness in it. It's almost like that glass is half full. So even if someone cuts you off in the street, you're like, bless his heart. Thank you for slowing me down today, because I know you kept me from being in an accident. Now I had to get to that point because I had severe road rage.
I love it. I love it. So I hope those of you that are listening caught that, because again, I oftentimes I'm paying attention a lot of times when people don't even think I am. And I know that I've seen that joy and happy thing happen quite a bit. And so thank you so much, because that was like quick, concise, and spot on. So could you, for the note takers in the room, because you did go through it a little bit quick. And I'm like, she didn't even do a build up. She just like boom, 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 boom. Just boom. So could you drop that for us one more time?
Absolutely. And there is a template on the website, completely free download, where you can type this in every day. It's a fillable form. The J stands for Jesus. And this is where you want to write down specific activities that you're going to do to strengthen your relationship with Jesus. The O is for others. And this is where you want to write down your proactive plan on how you want to interact with others. Those that you know you're going to come in contact with, like your spouse, your children, the people in your household, how you want to interact with them. And then those you might come in contact with, like on your job or in the grocery store. And then the last letter is just as important. The Y is for you. You need to write down at least one thing every day you're going to do for you. And it can be something small, but it has to be something every day. That's it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So before we let you get out of here and we go into our break, right before our last batch or our last stream for the evening, how can people stay connected to you? And what's the next? Well, let me back up. What's the next big thing you got going on aside from the graduation? And then how can people stay connected to you?
There's so many things. I have the boot camp, Joy Boot Camp, that's coming up at the end of this month. And you can get the information on the website, establishingjoy.com. And God has also placed in my heart to do a joy party tour. It's called the Summer Joy Party Tour, where I am going to different areas. Wherever you are, you can invite me in and invite at least 15 ladies to your area, and I will come in and we're going to have a joy party. And that's where we do a craft that's linked to the JOY that people can take away, kind of like a paint party, but it's all about the joy. It's life-changing. So those are 2 things that I have going on right now this summer.
You peeping the posture, right? Because you know I'm not feeling that women only thing. Well, why can't the brothers come to the joy party?
Brothers are welcome, but you know as well as I do, my coach has said I have to narrow down my niche, right?
Hey, I am not mad at you. That was an awesome recovery, as a matter of fact. I'm gonna let you have that. I'm gonna go have some joy parties for the dudes here. Hey, Paul, let's have a joy party.
There you go.
I can go get me some brothers. We gonna have us a joy party. How about that?
Absolutely. Actually, we will be in Atlanta in the end of July. So we're going to invite you over to the yeah.
Praise be to God. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and your brilliance. The best of luck to you and all your endeavors, and congratulations to the graduate. Everybody out there, we're going to really take a break. And so, Sean, don't even start the next stream until 5:15. Because I need to walk my studio guests out and actually be a decent host. And so we'll start the next stream, everybody, at about 5:15. And don't forget to come back tomorrow. We still have more and more goodies in case you have to jet out. But for those of you that are going to hang out, be about 15 minutes or so. Please continue to share this out. There are still seats available because they're free. So they're pretty much unlimited. And that we know that there's value based on the comments we're seeing, the attendance over in Clubhouse, that this is providing value for people. So please make sure that you don't commit the sin in the sand. If you don't know what the sin in the sand is, let me break it down for you real quick before we go to break. The sin in the sand is that you have gotten to that place where you found something to quench your thirst, and your little stingy behind won't even tell nobody else how to get their thirst quenched. Don't do that. That's not godly. It ain't in the Bible, so don't hold me to that. I'm kidding, but I'm serious. Seriously, pay it forward, folks. We know that there are some tremendous challenges that most everybody is attempting to overcome right now. And based on what you've seen today, you can see evidence of the amazing, diverse group of awesome speakers that we have here at the Back from Broken Summit. So we'll see you guys back, for those that are going to continue to hang out, in about 15 minutes. Everybody else, hopefully and prayerfully, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much. Sean, take us to break, brother.